Hey, hey. Happy Friday, y'all. It is the first Friday of October. So I'm excited because October is my birthday month. I'm just happy to be with y'all. So anytime I can be here is exciting for me. So I am going to jump into the content. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to everybody that's catching the replay. If you don't know me, my name is Onjeinikab, and I am known as the Unmothered Coach. And so right now I'm live on Facebook and on Instagram, and today I'm talking about the challenges of being motherless along with being unmothered. So if you're new to my page, I help women who had difficult relationships with their mothers and who also lost their mothers overcome trauma, find their voice, and reclaim their power so they can have the lives they deserve. And now, if you've been rocking with me for a minute, then you know that I have always focused on women that are unmothered. However, as of last week, I finally decided to listen, and I made the shift to work with women who are motherless, meaning they've lost their mothers and they didn't have that relationship intact. It was not a good relationship. And so I'm one of those. And you may have also seen my book, and this is how I got started in the coaching space. My book is called Unmothered, A Daughter's Guide to Acceptance, Healing, and Renewal. And I wrote the book because I lost my mother. So my mother passed away. She died of breast cancer, and I was 27 at the time. I have a sister that's a couple years younger than me, and we have a brother, and he's 17 years younger than me. So there are three of us. And being the oldest, there's always a lot of weight, I feel like, on your shoulders. And so it wasn't just managing what happened with my mother and, preparing to say goodbye. It was all the other emotions and all the things surrounding our relationship that came up. And so immediately after she passed away, God laid it on my heart that I needed to write this book. And I tried writing the book, and it was very difficult. And it was difficult because I hadn't dealt with our relationship. I hadn't grieved the fact that my mother wasn't who I wanted and needed her to be when I was growing up. And I hadn't, really even thought about what that would look like just recognizing that and admitting it. And so because I was in denial and because I hadn't even thought to deal with any of that, grief was very difficult for me. And so I couldn't get the book written. I could not get the book out because I was in grief. And then later I learned that when you're writing, just as a writer in general, sometimes when you have something traumatic happen or when you've gone through something, you need time, you need space, and you need to step away and step back so that you can process. And so I thank God that I wasn't able to write it, because had I tried to write it right away, I don't believe it would have had the lessons that it has in it now. I don't believe it would have had the steps so clearly defined that are in the book. It has not, what I call the 9 steps to healing. It wouldn't have had that if I had tried to just force it out. The book would have definitely been more about, just losing a loved one. And that is not what God was calling me to write. So the book that I wrote is something that I was looking for. And that's kind of how it started. Hi, Kim. So it's something that I was looking for on the internet or, in bookstores to help me. I wanted a resource to help me process what I was feeling after losing my mother. I wasn't even really thinking about the fact that we weren't getting along or that she didn't, do the things that I needed her to. And as I was looking for that source and for some help, I couldn't find it. And I think this happens a lot of times to people. Like, you might need something and you want to work on yourself, but you go, reach out or you look around and the thing that you want isn't there. and then you realize you have to create it. And so in knowing that I was supposed to write it, I also needed help and wanted to do research, and there just wasn't a lot there. And so I felt like this is all a sign, and you really need to go ahead and do it. And so that's how I arrived at writing the book, and that's why I'm now looking to really niche down and work with women that have had the same experience as me, because I believe I will be in a very unique and a good place to help those of you that have gone through the same thing. It's not that people that are unmothered or have had difficult relationships with their mothers, it's not that they can't come to the page and get some help, but I just want to make it clear why I'm making the shift. It has just been a call and a tug that's there, and while I would love to be able to help and serve, that whole community, there are so many amazing coaches out there and people. I've talked with them, I've connected with them. And so if you want, resources, and you still have your mom, I can hook you up with many different coaches out there. But for me and who I really want to focus on helping is those of you that have lost your mothers. Okay. I'm looking at, I hope I'm saying it right, Makita's note says, yes, that's how I ended up writing about my divorce. Yes, a lot of the time, when we go through something and we're reaching out and trying to find help, if it's not there, maybe that is a call. Maybe that is a call on your life to do something. Or maybe you just feel the urge and you want to help. I've always been a person that wants to help. And so I am ready to step in and take it to the next level. I am all in. I am still working my 9 to 5, but I am as available as I can possibly be when it comes to my mindset. I know what I'm called to do, and I am really happy to do it. So I just wanted to preface what I'm going to talk about today with the background, and so helping those that come to the page and that are new, helping us to get to know each other so that it can be fruitful, so that you can get what you came for, because that I think is the ultimate goal, is to help each other. We're gonna help each other and build each other, and that's how we're gonna grow and thrive. And so today I just want to talk about the challenges when you're motherless and you're unmothered, because it looks a little bit different. There are a lot of similarities, but I want to call out the things that can happen. So we talk about it a lot when you're unmothered. I've mentioned it here a lot of the times. There are costs that come along with that when that relationship is not intact. There are costs such as, the fear of rejection, not knowing your worth, not understanding that you're valid, even if your mother doesn't say so. Not, a lot of the times, there is a guilt and shame that comes with not having the mom that you can brag about, or the one that is a really good friend to you. You don't even have a role model a lot of the time because she hasn't been able to step into her role or do a good job at being a mother. Okay, we're being honest. And so you don't then a lot of times know what to do. And then sometimes that brings along the possibility of repeating that same behavior. Although that's the last thing we want, it subconsciously gets embedded in there sometimes, and that is a real risk. And so those are some of the costs that come along with being unmothered, no matter whether your mother whether she's here with you or she's passed away. So that's there. However, when you are also motherless, it can really make healing more difficult. And it can be more difficult if you're a person like me and you feel like you were blindsided by the fact that you're unmothered, because my mother passed away before I was able to address the problems with our relationship and identify them and put a name to it and say, okay, this shouldn't be. I knew about the problems, but I wasn't forthcoming in accepting that. And so therefore, I did not get the chance to grieve the fact that my mother was not going to change, that she wasn't going to suddenly show up and start listening to me and start interacting with me like I wanted her to. We weren't going to build that friendship at some point later. So I never had the time to understand the relationship you want with your mother is not happening. And she is not in a place, and she is not the person to do the nurturing and the things that you want her to do. Release her from that. And I didn't have a chance to do that. No, I was in fight mode. And I was like, no, you gonna be a mama. You are gonna act how you're supposed to act. And I'm not gonna give up. And of course, there's the love part that makes it hard. We love our mothers. And that is the one thing I've always called out on my page, on all my social media channels, is that I say, I'm not the daughter that is bitter and that is, I can't show and I can't say that I love my mother. I love my mother dearly, even though she was wrong. And so I will never say it was okay what she did, but I'm not going to deny the feelings that I had for her, because that is how I was raised, to love my mother. However, in knowing that, it can keep you stuck, and it can make you feel like you must honor her memory and you can't say anything bad or wrong. So that's another way. And then a question that I get from people a lot of the time is, okay, she's passed away and I know there's some pain there, but should I really look at that? Should I address it? And I answer that with a resounding yes, you need to address it. And sometimes when your mother passes away and you've had that difficult relationship, you begin to think that it's a resolution. And so it gives you a false sense of everything is okay now because she's not here. As horrible as it sounds for people that have good moms, to think of their mother not being there, for those of us that have been traumatized or have had a lot going on and a lot of fighting, sometimes they just feel like I'm going to be at peace when she's not here. And it's not that they're wishing her dead all the time. That's not the case, although that does happen. I'm here to be honest. I put the trigger warning out there because I wanted y'all to know. But it's not that that's their wish. It's just that they feel like without her antagonizing them and, fighting and sabotaging and causing drama, that they're going to have a peaceful and a better life. And that is not what happens. It's almost like when people go low contact or no contact, they feel like that's going to solve the problem of the relationship. And that's not what happens either. So what solves the problems and what helps the healing is addressing it, is acknowledging the trauma and addressing it. And so even if your mother has passed away, you still need to do the work. It would benefit you to do the work. It will benefit any children that you have or come in contact with for you to do the work. And it's going to benefit everybody around you if you do that inner work. So we don't want to stay in an unhealed place because we think she's gone and that now is a resolution. So that's another way it makes it harder to heal, is because you think, okay, she was the main problem and it's over. That's not the case. And then sometimes the pure shock of the grief can keep you stuck, because you may have even been no contact at the time that your mother passed away. But the grief can hit you in ways you just never expected, because it's a human life, and because that bond, whether emotionally it's intact, she is your mother. And so it's very hard to separate that and to make that go away and to push that away enough that you can just deal with the death. So sometimes the grief of losing someone that close to you just overtakes you, and grief can make you, it can cause you to be stuck, meaning you will be very sad, and every time you think about her, you may shed tears, you may feel the pain, but you don't know what to do to move forward. You don't know what to do to get better, and it keeps you from thriving in other areas of your life. And I was there. So that's why I speak about grief a lot. But grief also is a game changer when you understand it. So that's another way it makes it harder. Then there's sometimes anger. Anger and bitterness occurs when you sit down and think about that thing and say, okay, she didn't do what she was supposed to. She didn't help me. She didn't nurture me. She would not change. I tried, I prayed, I cried. she wouldn't do it, and I'm mad now because she's gone. And so sometimes when the anger comes, that's where the bitterness comes. And your heart becomes hard. And even, there have been people that they lash out at other people that have good moms, or they have moms that are still around. And so you just become upset because you feel like you were slighted. You didn't get what you deserved. You didn't have what you deserved, and now you're just mad. You're mad at her. You're mad at the world in some cases, and mad at yourself. And also not a good place to be. And then there is being more confused than ever. You could be more confused than ever because you never had your mom. So it's almost like a second death in a way. You never really had her when she was on earth. When she was alive, she wasn't who you needed her to be, right? She didn't give you that unconditional love. Maybe there were conditions and parameters and things she set on it. Or maybe, like with my mother, she would not say, I got you. That was something my mother never said to me. I got you. I can handle this for you. You don't have to worry about this. She was the opposite. And she would say things like, well, I don't know what you're going to do about that situation. Or I don't know how you're going to fix that. She was not that person. My grandma was the one that would be like, I got you, don't worry. But my mama just was not going to do that. And so when, you realize you never had that, then you sit and think, now she's not even here. Now what? Now what? I'm completely lost and confused. So all these emotions are going on when you're motherless, on top of the cost of already not having what you needed. And so you have to find a way to basically exist in both those worlds and then show up in the real world and go to work and parent and be a wife, a friend, be in these relationships with people, lead, and all of this stuff when inside it is crazy. It is bananas inside of you. And that's where I was. And I was there, and I wasn't getting out of the grief circle, didn't understand until it was like an epiphany. And when I tell you the lights turned on, and this was God spoke to me and said, you need to stop lying. You need to stop lying to yourself about your mother. Basically, knowing that you love her and knowing who she is, you need to reconcile those two things. And so that is how everything came about. That is how the 9 steps of healing came about. God did it, and in the epiphany, the first part was acceptance. And so when it comes to healing from being unmothered, when you're motherless, the steps are still the same. The steps in this book never left out the grief part and never left out the part about if you lost your mom. It's just that we're going to hone in on that right now because that's what's needed. I feel like great care is needed with you if you are a person that doesn't have your mom and you also didn't have that relationship. And I want to be here to do it. And so when you're motherless, it can delay your healing just because of the false sense of security and all that stuff that happens that we just talked about. But the steps to healing are still the same. Acceptance is huge. You have to acknowledge whoever your mother was to you and even the things that she didn't do, how she treated you. You have to understand how she got like that, what happened. You need to understand because going forward, if you don't know, you can repeat the same things. And then you need to accept that she just wasn't the mom you wanted. And once you do that, you're ready to move into dealing with the grief. And a lot of it can require extra help and support. Yes, they're therapists for a reason, and for some people, they work very well for them. Some people work better in community, which is what I'm offering with my program that I launched. Is there will be a private community. Some people do better with that kind of support. And so there are all kinds of ways you can help yourself to get through the grief part. But I just encourage you to work through the grief of the loss of the relationship, whatever you wanted your mother to be or thought she was going to be, and the fact that physically you cannot see her. She's not around. No matter how annoying, how mean, how upset, there was still some comfort for me in hearing from and seeing my mother. And so you have to address that grief. And once you realize that it's okay. It's okay to feel that loss. It's okay. It's okay to cry about it. It's okay to hurt about it. Once you realize that, grief becomes the catalyst to your next move. And your next move is forgiveness. And the forgiveness needs to happen. Thank you, Makita. The forgiveness needs to happen because you need to do it for yourself. And so I don't say it's a must, because I'm not going to put that on anybody. It's going to be your personal decision. But forgiveness can help release you so that you can be free to grow. You can be free to take in new things and experience what you need that'll push you through to your purpose. And you need to forgive yourself for parenting yourself, for taking up the slack from your mama when she wasn't there, from whatever it is you had to do. And then you're ready to go into renewal. And when you go into renewal, I want to make a note here. Be very careful, like I said, about the memory. Be very careful not to be so sympathetic to the fact that your mother passed away. And yes, it is traumatic. It is hard when we lose someone. Even toxic people, it can be traumatic. But be very careful that you don't start trying to honor her memory and carry out these things that she used to do and would do in her spirit, because that is not going to serve you unless you want to be just like she was. So you have to be very careful. So I always say, don't honor the past. Do not honor the past things that were not good. You can take from your mother if there was good, take that and move it forward. But do not honor those things that did not serve you, those bad habits, or the toxic traits, the things that weren't good. Don't take that forward. So at the renewal stage, be very mindful of how you move. And so honor your future. That's how I'll say it. Think about the legacy. Think about the changes you want to make. So you have to be very, very careful. And so that is how I see the differences with managing and becoming empowered, even when you have lost your mother. And so I just want to leave you with that. There are many, many challenges to being unmothered and also being motherless. But I have the steps for you in my book. I have free content on all these pages. And so you are welcome to come here and to learn and to start your healing journey. All right. So my digital course is open for enrollment. I have moved to the November dates. And so if you go to my website, if you're interested, you can find out more information there. But this is a course that I do want to walk you through and teach live. And so that's what I'm offering, is a 4-week program where we can walk through the steps together in community. I will be there live to go through assignments and everything, but you'll also have the digital version to refer to and to work at your own pace. And so that's essentially what it is. And so if you want more information, you can go to my website. You can also DM me if you have questions. And one-to-one coaching is always open. So if you're a person that you want one-to-one time and attention, here for you. All right? So that's what I have for you today. I know it is heavy, but this is where I am, and I'm ready to do it. And so welcome if you're new here. Welcome back if you are coming back. And I look forward to the growth that we're going to experience together. All right? Well, guys, I hope that you have a great weekend. I hope that you get some rest. I hope you get to do some fun things. All of this stuff. It is fall, so get out and enjoy the weather. And I will see you next week. Bye.